Drew Breesy.
First, Kadeen.
Who wants to go?
I have two seconds.
Okay, go ahead. And then Kadeen.
I've watched him backpedal in the pocket, but this was exceptional backpedaling. It was
Digging his own grave. Yep.
We cleared that for you to get that joke off.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go, Kadeen?
Huh?
You want me to go or you go?
One of yous.
How honest do you want me to be? So from
I'll go first.
No, here's
the
thing. What I was gonna say is, from an honest standpoint, James tells me last week, so we need you to rant first because people tune out. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Nah, go ahead.
I'm here.
Oh my gosh.
So
you're pretty. No, you're pretty. Fucking.
You hang up first. No, you hang up first.
I hope you have a great day.
I got. Do you want me to go? Or do you want to go, James?
You go ahead.
Go ahead, K-Dot.
James, you go. No. Go.
You know what's so weird? I'm wearing shorts, so I'm like feeling my legs right now. So
okay.
Drew Brees is symptomatic of almost every white person that exists right now, or at least a good majority of them. So everyone can look at Drew Brees' action. Well, breakdown of what happened, right? So Drew Brees, years back when the Colin Kaepernick situation came out, he had been on the record as saying that he thought that it was disrespectful to the flag to take a knee, blah, 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 blah. Made it about that part of the argument. So it's like one of Trump's boys and all that bullshit. So now with everything that's been happening over the course of the last week, a lot of the NFL players have been very vocal about their stance on this, and Colin Kaepernick's situation has come back to the forefront as we've talked about on previous, right? So yeah, Drew is doing the interview with Yahoo Finance, which is, I don't know why he's on Yahoo Finance, but he's doing an interview with them, and they ask him about what's happening again and how it's kind of, before he says anything about George Floyd, before he says anything else about having his teammates back, whatever, he goes right into the narrative about the flag and taking a knee being disrespectful and how he would never do that because of what it symbolizes for him as far as his grandfather that fought in the wars and this, that, and the other. It wasn't well received, to take it lightly. So you had like Martellus Bennett. No, Martellus didn't even say anything at first. Martellus came a little bit after where he spoke to everybody. But it was like Malcolm Jenkins, who's a teammate, Alvin Kamara, all those guys started saying stuff. So Drew tried to save face again and put another apology out. And while it was better than the first apology, it still was some half-ass bullshit. Wasn't well received again. Everybody kind of like it's status quo. Then you had other NFL quarterbacks who hadn't already said something, started making some movements. So it was like Aaron Rodgers released a statement. And people are like, oh, man, that was a great statement by Aaron. He didn't pull any punches, this, that, and the other. So Martellus Bennett kind of wiped out everybody. We're like, yeah, fuck that. And it's kind of the way I feel right now with Drew after he then released the last video, which was the actual video apology where you could see it in his face. There is no doubt in my mind, I do not under any circumstances look at Drew Brees and say this is somebody who is – he's not aware, as most people are aware of, inherent racism that you might have in your head that you're not even aware of. Drew Brees has done a shit ton for New Orleans. He's done a shit ton for the black community in New Orleans. Everything he's done as far as relief efforts after Katrina and what New Orleans has gone through speaks for itself. He has been an amazing person across all those lines. But right now, throughout this entire situation, you have to be careful with what the fuck you're saying, especially right now. Like, under no circumstances should you be continuing to peddle the bullshit narrative about the national flag kneeing thing. If you've even taken any time to listen over the course of the last 5 years to anybody about it, you'd understand that that's not the point anymore. Talk about the issue at hand. Talk about the issue at hand. And you got a lot of white people right now that are walking on eggshells because they are still thinking in that mindset and they don't even realize the privilege and the bullshit that has to go through the head and the mental hoops to get to that point and still disregard what the fuck we're talking about. Like, they're trying to be an ally, but they can't even help themselves, but still fucking disregard what we're talking about.
Do you think because it's not relatable to their lifestyle?
It's because at a core fundamental standpoint, this is going to sound fucked up. Most white people don't care. They're trying to learn to care about this particular situation. And it's weird because, like, as black people, we're sitting down there trying to figure out, like, it's a weird balance between somebody giving somebody an attaboy when they spent so many years not listening. And then they show one or two glimpses of like, oh, well, reconciliation on it, right? It's like, I don't trust it. Like, even when there are a few people that have done it the right way. Ben and Jerry's, the right way as you can possibly do as far as the statement goes, right?
Shout out Ben and Jerry's.
The
Monster.
Some of the Washington Wizards did a good job as far as just calling shit what it is. Like, there are certain people, certain organizations that are being real about the shit. But the same thing that I'm going down to DC and saying what Mayor Bowser did with the Black Lives Matter on the street. Huge moment, right?
Beautiful.
But Lord knows if you think because you tweeted one or two things, an apology, or you think you wrote some shit in the street that we're done,
yeah,
get out of here. So like, I'm going to balance right now with almost every white person that considers themselves an ally or anything else. I'm trying to give attaboys to a certain degree, but I make sure I follow up and let them know we ain't fucking close at all
This is just
to where we need to be on it. You can't even call it. This is a preamble.
Right.
We haven't begun to do the work. Right now, all we're doing is trying to get people to understand what's happening. That's literally all we're trying to do is get people to acknowledge what's happening. And it looks like it's getting across to a lot of people, but there's still so many people like Drew, regardless of your intentions, what you're not realizing is what we're telling you is that there's an inherent thing. It's not like I don't think you have hate in your heart. It's not that deep. I just think that there's an ignorance to what black people are going through. So if you're trying to be an ally, the first step that I've been saying on here, and you've heard me say it for countless times, shut the fuck up and listen. You don't need to necessarily be quick to throw out your apologies or anything else if you haven't understood it yet. Everybody's going to catch flack. You have shit that you've done in the past that you're going to catch probably flack for, or you're not saying the right things because you don't know how to reach across and show that empathy just yet. You take yourselves and just listen. It's okay to put a post out and say, hey, I'm trying to soak all this in. I'm not trying to be fake or trying to be bullshit. Here's a list of black companies you can support. I'm watching movies today to understand black history so that I get a better understanding. I don't really have a statement to make right now, although I feel in my heart that I'm with these people. I don't want to speak from a place of ignorance. I don't see any person criticizing that. Just be fucking honest. Because we know that there are some people out there that are just riding this wave and they don't give a fuck. And I'm not trying to group everybody in that category, but I know they exist. So excuse my cynicism. And excuse me for not wiping over all the bullshit that you've done over the course of the last how many years and just saying, oh, I forgive you. You're great. Kumbaya. Black lives do matter now. Fuck that. It don't work that way.
Yeah.
True.
James?
Well, first thought I had was, who is in Drew Brees' corner? Because he should have known that question was coming.
Yeah.
No matter where you are, you should know that question's coming. When Cap first took the knee, every single locker room had that discussion. So Drew was in there in New Orleans with all the people in New Orleans, his teammates, and they had that discussion. There's no locker room that didn't. So what was happening then? He took a knee, but now it's all different. Like, why did you bring up that point that we've already debunked so many times? And then the first apology pissed me off because he said he could be a leader for the black community. How?
There was the second one.
I don't care. Well, whichever one. The first statement. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, see, you pissed me off again. God damn it.
No, that pissed me off. I'm like,
yeah, it was
I'm like,
that was
what are you doing? What are you doing? Then the second joint, like, he got the photo with the two hands with the blue sky in the back. I'm like, bruh, what are you doing?
The Getty images.
What are you doing? Now look, I've only heard nice things about Drew, right? And I've had this conversation before with other people that I would, before all this stuff came out, like I would consider a friend. And it's a difference between being like ignorant, like unknowingly, and being willfully ignorant. If
Sure.
you decide that that's the route you want to go after you like have that conversation, then I got nothing for you. Like that's you chose that. So now here's the consequences of you choosing that. They've had that talk with Drew already. So, and then when they asked him the question, the first thing he brought up was his grandfather's, and Richard Sherman said this, that he's acting like two people won that war. Our grandfathers were there too, but the difference is when his grandfathers came home, it was like a parade and all this other shit. When our grandfathers came home, different story.
Jim Crow.
Yeah, like we couldn't even vote. Like the fuck is he talking? The shit like that pisses me off because you look at Drew being as a thoughtful human being. Like he's done a lot for like the black community, especially like in New Orleans. But it's still like you still think like this? Like who's in your ear? Who's talking to you? Who are you talking to?
Yeah, I think, and I.
But I don't. Wait, one more thing.
My bad.
I'm not pissed at Drew. Right? I'm upset at the situation and the narrative that was being shared. But like, I have empathy, as I always do, as we as a people always do. Like, we're pissed off, but just show us with your actions. Like, this time it seems as though he, like from the final, like the video, it seemed like he got it. And it's like, all right, well, what do you do now? Right? And
Last night's thing. Did you see what he posted last night?
yeah, to Trump.
Yeah, that to me was that's a moment.
Yeah, because especially
honestly
after
wasn't any of that.
just praised him.
Yeah.
Like early, and that's like, okay, well, look, now I definitely put you in the category of you've had that talk now for sure.
Yep.
What do you do now? So either you're enlightened somehow, or you still decide to be willfully ignorant. Pick one.
Well, there should only be one that you need to pick.
Right, but
Pick one.
I see this coming from the white perspective, and I see people doing this, and I've probably, well, I'm not guilty of it. Might have been when I was a kid, but I see a lot of people who are white who are like, well, you know, I have black friends and I've done this and that for my black friends and I've done this and that for the black community. And that's fine. These are great things that you've done, but that's the past actions aren't your, like, don't reflect on your present thoughts. So Drew Brees has done a lot for the black community. And then probably inside his head, he's like, well, I can't be racist because I've done these things. That's the issue.
Yeah, you think about all the philanthropists.
Yeah, it's almost an excuse to make what is in your head sound okay. Like there's some sort of disjointed, you know, feeling of pride that you did those things, but that doesn't change what's in your head and coming out of your mouth. And I think that needs to change.
It's kind of when people say, I can't be racist, I have black friends.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. That's
Right.
not, that's you taking what someone's calls you a racist, and you're taking that and you're like, oh, look over here. This is the issue. It's not this. That's great that you have black friends and you've done stuff for the black community. Cool. Great. Right on. But you're missing the issue. It's right here. The ball's not over here.
I like what Matt Ryan's done so far. At least,
I was actually going to ask you that because I did not catch the Matt Ryan bit.
He came out and said how he saw his community hurting. Right? He said, I see my city hurting. So he donated $500,000 to an initiative, and the goal is to raise $2 million because his number's $2 million. I mean, his number's number 2, not 2 million, but he wants to raise $2 million. So him saying how he wants to understand, like to listen and learn and understand. that goes a long way, right? Because I mean, before now, people just didn't do it. Because if it doesn't affect you, like you don't really care.
Yeah, why should you worry about it?
Because it's uncomfortable, and people don't like doing things that are uncomfortable.
But now everybody has to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, and that's just how it is.
I do want to shout out my team, Kadeen. I was arguing with yes, because for a second I thought I was arguing with you, but it was another friend. No,
Do we all look alike?
no. Man, do I look like you?
I'm asking. I'm just saying.
I'm telling you, do I look like you?
There are a lot of black people I'm seeing that hate themselves right now, so I'm just asking.
That's true. That's true. No, but
like my
I said that because only you
auntie.
and the other friend are the only people I argue with.
I don't argue with you.
Yeah, we argue.
You got spirited discussions.
I will say you just bit my ignorant will for ignorant bit, you piece of shit. You know you got it from me.
No, I told you. I told you when we had that conversation. we had like a 2-hour conversation.
Pause. I'm gonna slide backwards just a sec. As you've noticed, when talking about this subject, I was as calm as I possibly can be because I've been trying to strike a more reconciliatory tone.
Okay.
It's not necessarily how I feel, but it's me trying to work on the messaging to get people to join the cause. Now, allow me to be more honest just for a second.
Okay. How honest you trying to be?
Be as honest as I need to be.
Okay.
They ain't canceling black folk out here right now, so you got a free pass, right? As long as I don't say any racist shit against some other people, and I'll be careful about that right now, right? Okay. We know damn well. When I say we, I'm talking about black folk. Down black folk. We know goddamn well that it wasn't no motherfucking George Floyd video or anything that you've seen over the course of the last 3 days that changed your opinion on what you had 6 months ago. The light switch don't flip like that on fucking racist thought. All right. Yeah. So we get it. We get what you're trying to do. A lot of the statements and everything out here, the reason we think they're hollow is because they're fucking hollow. We know they're fucking hollow. We know you are going. I feel phone calls all day from white folk that want to feel better about themselves in this sort of situation because they feel uncomfortable as fuck. So it's Ask a Negro time. And can I post this on Facebook? Can I not post this on Facebook? How do I become an ally? How am I a good ally? How can I be your buddy? Where can I send money to? What movie should I watch? What can I learn Black history? What am I Luther King saying? What
so charging for that? Charging for advice.
I'm gonna walk around with a sign. Ask a Negro. ask your Negro what questions you have to fucking feel better about yourself, right?
Don't do that. No.
Look, we know it don't flip like a fucking light. It's thought, right? This is why what we want. Basically, if you have there are a lot of white folk that at least have gotten the comprehension around that if you've had those thoughts, they're fucked up. That's the acknowledgement. That's the acknowledgement is that it's fucked up to have those thoughts. That is something that is a switch. You can figure that out. That's easy to figure out. If you haven't even figured that part out of it, fuck off. You show me you're a piece of shit. You have no empathy. You can't even realize it's a problem. You're a fucking problem.
You're fucking up the audio.
Yeah.
Now, outside of that, you have people that might have come to the terms that it's a problem, right? So now it's how do I address the problem? You got some folk that are running so goddamn fast to issue their apology or their bullshit that all they're doing is trying to find the right words to do so to help their image, to help their brand, to help all this shit because it's now the wave, right? And it's fucking horseshit.
No, the ball's over here. That's what they're doing. They're doing the whole ball's over here trick, but it's actually over here.
So it's look at all this. I don't like the phrase virtue signaling. I don't like it's just it got some terrible connotation to me. But there are a lot of situations where people are hopping on this fucking wave because it's now the popular thing to do. So there are a lot of these companies that are saying it, and you see in their presses, there's nothing about black in it. There's no Black Lives Matters at the end of it. They are working with their legal teams the entire way through to figure out what kind of statement they're supposed to make. And I'm sure a lot of these influencers and everything else are doing the exact same thing, right? So where it comes down to is for us, we look like assholes if we question you, because you got to give somebody credit for trying to have I don't think I give someone credit for growing in their thought process and what have you. I think people can change. It's a fundamental thing that I believe that people have the ability to change. I believe it to my core, okay? So I want to give people credit for it. But you can't for a second fucking think that if you thought a certain way about the flag and the bullshit with Colin, or you thought about when you saw Black Lives Matter, there was a certain thing you thought, we know, and you didn't just change your mind. Maybe you've gotten to the point, like we said, that you acknowledge that there's an issue. But now we have to go on, how do you change that? Because it's an indoctrination thing.
Yeah,
it is deep-seated.
I mean, education is a lifelong process. So to be honest, a lot of the places that came out with statements immediately, I was like, no. I think some people and companies that have not yet made a statement kind of makes, if they never say anything, then I see you. But
I have a question.
I think a lot of people are sitting around and actually thinking about this before saying something. People that came out
don't think too long.
Yeah, I mean, some people might need to think. Some people might need to think longer than others. No, not about their decisions.
Not about the acknowledgement.
Not about the acknowledgement, but about
what to do after. Yeah,
exactly. Then you know what? I know what my part is, at least what I think I need to do, which is to educate my white people, even though I am now identifying only as Jewish. But
good call.
I don't I still don't know everything I need to do. And I'm okay with that because I will learn. Yeah. I'm totally comfortable with saying that. But I know what my first step is going to be, and the other steps I will learn in the future.
If any of you guys been to an AA meeting?
Yeah.
I have.
What's the first fucking step?
Oh, I kind of tuned out.
He was drunk.
He was good. He went to Alcoholics Anonymous to see if anybody had a good line on fucking booze. So
No, I went because I was court ordered.
The first step is acknowledging you have a problem. America has gone for hundreds of years not acknowledging that they have a problem. This is where we're at right now.
They acknowledge every problem but ours.
Exactly. So here's the thing. There's a great comic that came out. It's like some cartoonist or something put it out, and it's two guys backpacking, and you see that there's one plateau that they reach, and they got a sign that says acknowledging that racism or white privilege exists. And you see the white person's got a backpack on, and he's breathing all hard and shit, and he's like this. You got a black guy holding his hand and pointing, showing that there's a whole mountain still left to go for equality. Don't think that we are at the beginning of this shit. We're just acknowledging that there's a problem. If you still have people,
You should put it up here.
Oh yeah, maybe. Well, a copyright thing. I don't know. But if there's a situation where you still have people talking about the flag, you still haven't acknowledged yet that there's a problem because you're still using sideways bullshit arguments, and you're drawing. Like I said on here and other things, stop poking holes in what we say. Shut the fuck up and listen. If you want to help, you should know, if you just listen to us, how to help right now.
But now people are seeing the shit because you got videos of cops beating the shit out of white people too. Like when they pushed the old man down and said he tripped. And like he's sitting on the ground like bleeding profusely out of his head and shit. It's like,
out of his ear.
Yeah.
He was bleeding out of his ear. That's how fucked up the throat they pushed him. Now, here's the thing. This is going to sound fucked up, but I'm just trying to be as honest as I can be, okay?
Yeah.
I know that 75-year-old white guy getting pushed on the ground woke up some people because they didn't give a fuck. I wouldn't say they didn't give a fuck because George Floyd
Some of them didn't give a fuck.
Some of them didn't. But the 75-year-old guy was there, oh my God, police are really fucked up. And it wasn't a knee on George Floyd's neck. Right? Like there are people that are seeing the protests happening, and that's waking them up because that person looks like them or their granddad or what have you. That is still something that needs to be addressed here. It's not for me saying that I don't feel terrible for that 75-year-old guy. Absolutely. But what I'm saying is that if you felt bad about that and it clicked with you, what you need to ask yourself is why it didn't click for you when you saw the George Floyd video. And if you're one of those people, that should be a full wake-up call to acknowledge that there is a problem. Stop being so uncomfortable with feeling uncomfortable. How the fuck do you think we feel? And my thing is that, especially right now, and like I said, trying to strike a reconciliation sort of tone, right? Black people overall are especially if you study our history, which is what we really want you to do, you'll know we are the most sympathetic fucking people maybe on the face of the earth. We are all walking around like goddamn Buddhist monks with the way we've been treated for the last hundreds of years. And you best know, especially if you study the history. Like I was just watching Malcolm X the other day, made me feel all fucking militant. I ain't gonna go there. But just know, and this is what I've broken down with every white person I've actually talked to about this stuff in depth. We've gone through the history. If you're lucky enough to have gotten one of those conversations with me, trust me, I love the fuck out of you because I don't want to have it. But at the end of the conversation, I always ask them, aren't you really fucking glad we're only asking for equality and not revenge or retribution? Because we got every fucking right to ask for those things. And we're not asking you for that. We're asking for equality. We're literally telling you there's not much we want you to give up. We just want you to change your thought process and the way you treat us. We're not asking for anything else. When you look at death penalty statistics across the country, white people love that shit. And it's not to keep criminals or to keep killers off the streets. It's because of retribution. They want to fucking kill the person who did fucked up shit. Black people overall don't believe in the death penalty. We are sympathetic people. That's why you have fucking Christian Cooper feeling bad for Amy Cooper losing her fucking job in New York after she called the cops. That's why you have Boston Jean's fucking brother hugging that bitch in the courtroom saying, I forgive you. We forgive entirely too easy. Even when it comes to the Drew Brees thing, you see some of the teammates are like, man, I kind of feel bad for Drew. No, let him suffer with the fucking consequences of his actions. You don't learn until you honestly understand that there are ramifications for your actions. But we're always there with our hand out, ready to give you a fucking hug. Where are you learning? There are no consequences to the action. Why do you think the cops get away with killing black people? There's no consequences for the shit.
Yeah, I think Shannon Sharp, his statement on, what's that with Skip?
Yep.
Yeah.
Undisputed.
I think it's
that
kind
was
of
my final thought. Thank you, Ryan.
Well, I'll leave it. I'll leave it for your final.
It.
I'll leave it for your final thought. All right.
But
But
speaking of statements, though.
Hold on, I want to say
ahead.
though. All right, so, Kadini, has the skin said anything about anything recently?
This is actually something that I've been contemplating the last 48 hours. It might be an issue for our podcast going forward. Because I'm at a point where some of these organizations are about to lose me.
All right, fair enough. Like, shit, there's a shit ton of other sports. You don't have to worry about.
Maybe soccer.
Yeah.
The amount of racism that you guys have taught me about when it comes to soccer, you think I'm jumping into that fucking shit? Nope.
No, but the players.
At least they don't
basketball.
hide it like the American leagues do.
Yeah,
Basketball.
Yeah.
Basketball is the only one where I can actually say that we have
Boom.
a say.
All right. So, Mauricio, have the Eagles said anything?
No. Jenkins, well, he's not with the Eagles anymore, but
Nah, he's with the Saints.
yeah.
All right. Ryan, the Bills.
I think they made a statement, but I haven't read it.
Their statement was probably about Fromm, by the way, just so you know.
Jake from State Farm?
Nah, that dumbass Jake.
Yeah.
I
mean, I don't see how that kid can still have a job after that, but
yeah, that was pretty weird. Also, we did, and I kind of want to give the Raiders a little bit of the flowers. Like, I know it's my team and all, but they've been doing a lot of, like, they pioneered a lot of shit, like in terms of progressing the league forward. So
They had a statement before the NFL had a statement.
I believe so.
Not even before this entire situation, you got, as much as I will give the Raiders shit, and they well-deserved shit.
Sometimes, yeah.
They were pioneers in the sense of the coaches and the general managers. They didn't wait for a wave to come up as far as hiring blacks or Hispanics for jobs. They did that shit.
Hey, I got. Hold on. Art Shell was the first black coach. Us. We had the first Hispanic coach, Tom Flores. We had the first, I think, and maybe only woman CEO, and Amy Trask. And
Someone's phone vibrating?
yeah, that was mine.
How unprofessional of you.
Your own fucking point. You interrupting yourself. What kind of self-confidence is that show? God damn. Have more
Shut it
faith
off.
in yourself, man.
That's it. The podcast's over.
Hold on. I'm podcasting, bro. I gotta call you back.
He answered the phone?
I did.
What's his
You
name?
did too before you did.
Who just called you?
Ryan, you did too. Everybody did but me. That was the first time.
I don't remember.
He's
Oh,
trying to
okay,
show
you
us
don't
that
remember?
he's
You don't
just trying to
remember?
show us that he has friends. It's okay.
Yeah. Besides you guys. But Amy Trask, she was the first.
Co-workers.
I think she was the first and only woman CEO. She might not be the only now, but and we nicknamed her the Princess of Darkness. That should. We have some great ass nicknames. Fuck you.
Y'all embrace it. What does your fucking new stadium look like if not a
Wait,
villain's fucking lair?
what did you say? I didn't even hear what you said.
Look at you, just attacking me for the sake of attacking me.
Because you said something, and usually it's an
See,
attack against the team.
I don't buy the bullshit that is black on black crime, but I won't stand here for black on black criticism.
Shut up. All right. But I think I believe it was before Goodell put out his video.
Are we talking about that?
No, not yet. But the Raiders.
I've been trying to segue it in, but we need
I just want to make sure it was on the list.
We're going to it next.
Okay.
The Raiders put up a tweet that just said Black Lives Matter. And it was just a photo that just said Black Lives Matter and had the Raiders shield at the bottom.
Now available to get shot near you.
Nah, it's not. I was like, I haven't seen any other team do that. That's what I'll say. And then the funny thing was, they left the comments open. So the first comment was a gift of the Rock that just said, finally. And then the one below that was someone saying, all right, if you serious about it, sign Cap. Y'all love quarterbacks, right?
Oh.
And I was like, good fucking point. I mean, we got Mariota, but why the fuck not?
True.
So